Hi, my name is Rebecca.
And my name's Ivy. Welcome to our ECS 200 learning story. This semester, we were placed in a care home and a youth center to complete our volunteer hours.
I was placed at the SCEP Center in Regina. SCEP stands for Socialization, Communication, and Education Program for Young Children and Their Families. The clients I worked with were school-age children with either learning or behavioral problems needing extra attention, who wouldn't benefit from a typical school setting. The staff at SCEP used a therapeutic approach to help the students learn more effectively. There's a lot of times when students are asked to draw pictures of certain situations that may be going on in their lives, and the staff use different techniques to help the students work through those situations.
I was placed at Pioneer Lodge Care Home in Moose Jaw. The students I worked with were elderly and disabled individuals who require day-to-day assistance through long-term and short-term intensive and palliative care. I worked in the recreation department, helping keep the residents busy with activities. There's a wide range of activities happening here every day to accommodate everyone's likes. My responsibilities were All About Me resident life summaries, which went outside their rooms, reading to residents, transporting residents to and from activities, helping to facilitate activities such as music time or carving pumpkins, helping residents decorate for Christmas, making phone calls for events, and a few other things.
My responsibilities included keeping students safe, playing and socializing with students, cleaning dishes and cleaning, and facilitating circle time. Some difficulties and challenges that I experienced were certain students would lash out if approached, some students came from unfortunate family situations, and many students wouldn't understand questions I was asking because they didn't have large vocabularies and were still learning basic words. I had to simplify my questions so they could understand.
Some difficulties I had were that some residents had low cognitive abilities. Certain residents took their frustrations out on me. I didn't have enough time to finish my special project in the 20 hours I had there, and it was hard to keep track of which residents were allowed to roam and which were confined to their room.
A few things I learned about my placement were you can't always please everyone, but you can't let this impact your teaching. Alternative schooling doesn't have to be a last chance, and it's okay that students don't always like having you around.
Some things I learned about my placement were that care homes offer care to a wider range of people than I expected. Not all elderly people living in a home are disabled, and that care homes are extremely expensive to operate.
When discussing things that surprised us about our CBSL placements, we found we had similar reactions. The first similarity was how clients' mental age and actual age weren't necessarily the same.
At the care home, many residents with withering cognitive abilities behaved childlike, yelling, arguing, and pouting when they didn't get their way or disagreed with what was happening. Many times, residents yelled at me simply for doing what I was told to do. A time in specific occurred when I was carving pumpkins with a few residents. Because of the dangers associated with giving them the knife, the residents drew the pumpkin, and I had to do my best to carve it. One resident was so upset about this rule that she entered a complete meltdown and started throwing supplies across the room and screaming at me and my supervisor.
At SCEP, similar situations occurred with students 4 and 5 years old who could technically be in typical school settings but behaved as they were younger and had very little verbal skills because they may not have been exposed to such situations. Students would often get upset about plans during the day, such as when class time, snack time, and home time occurred, and they would yell, kick, or cry because that is the way they thought they would get what they wanted.
Our second similarity is the extreme structure at our placements. I found that this structure was beneficial for my placement as the residents appreciated always having an activity and knowing that it would be the same week after week. Residents enjoyed the structure because it became repetitious. They could see the daily events calendar and heavily relied on it. One day there was an error on the board and music time was canceled. Complete chaos ensued.
Through my own experience at my placement, there was also a large focus on day-to-day structure. The students would start each day as they came into the classroom by hanging up their coats and backpacks. The staff would make sure to keep the students on task. The students would sing hello and then they would have playtime. Later in the day, the students would participate in snack time and circle time, and for some students, class time.
The last similarity we found was the high staff to client ratio. At Pioneer Lodge, there are 4 nurses on shift in 3 different areas at all times. There are 68 residents, which is a ratio of 1 to 6, which is much lower than I expected, considering not all the residents need intense care 24/7.
At SCEP, there was a variety of staff who were part of this program. Staff members had a variety of backgrounds. Some were teachers with education backgrounds, some were social workers, and then there were the volunteers. For most days, there were usually between 6 to 8 students, and there always seemed to be at least 5 staff members in the room. Most days, when I was there was often 1 staff member per student.
These programs were put into place to help vulnerable individuals requiring extra help in their day-to-day life. We can confidently say this because the most vulnerable members of society are the youth and the elderly. These programs serve individuals and their families, helping to relieve stress and concern for their loved ones. It's a relief to know you can trust your parents or children with trained professionals who specialize in their care. SCEP and Pioneer Lodge provide a structured lifestyle for youth and elderly who need additional assistance.
Our placements were similar for a few reasons. Though we have already listed a few similarities, we have some important ones to add. We found both programs that were extremely structured. The structure was shown through planned activities, meal planning boards, circle time, and volunteering times. They asked us to pick a time and commit to it each week to start a routine. The staff was always keeping clients busy and in this routine. Our last similarity is the importance of music time. The elderly appreciated it because many of them played or sang when they were younger, and it was something they could leave their room for. The children enjoyed it because they were able to experience something different. Also, they were allowed to perform a piece of the song for the others.
What have we learned about SCEP and Pioneer Lodge? We've learned that these places are more than just a building, that they're actually a small community in their own. We've learned that the clients were much more welcoming than we expected they would be and actually warmed up to us quite quickly, and that the organizations are much bigger than we initially thought they were. In conclusion, we really appreciated our experiences at our placements and feel that they are going to help our educational journeys.